You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Well, we've got several stories lined up for you guys today. Looks like Ghislaine Maxwell is ready to start cooperating with the U.S. authorities. We've got a tweet here from Methods showing that. He says she better start with dropping truth bombs about Bill Clinton. I am sure that that is going to be part of it. As you can see, she was friends with some powerful people. Not least of all, was Prince Andrew. Bill Clinton and Hillary were certainly part of that group. We've also got some words from Attorney General Bill Barr on the irregularities that led to the quote-unquote suicide of Jeffrey. We've also got a story about Jeffrey's own cooperation, and we've also got some surprising information coming out from the CEO of Overstock.com. He is talking about the fact that Bill Barr is going to be dropping one of the largest criminal cases in the history of the United States, a major scandal. And finally, Al Sharpton attempts to shill in Baltimore, and he gets heckled by the people there. You can't fool the people of Baltimore. We've got all this and more, and that'll be coming up right after a quick word from my sponsor. Life Change Tea is the tea that makes you go. It's all natural with organic ingredients, it's non-GMO, and it has no caffeine. Yes, I've tried it. I can say it is a refreshing cold tea, but it's really an herbal drink and it makes you want more. Super Strength Life Change Tea gets things moving. It aids in cleansing colon buildup, occasional digestive slowdowns, and occasional constipation. Feel like a new you and drop a few pounds. Just drink 2 8-ounce glasses a day and watch Life Change Tea do its job. You won't be sorry. Try it today. Where can you get it? At getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And they carry wonderful organic supplements as well. So go to getthetea.com, and if you want some mind over matter tips, go to Health Matters Now YouTube channel for some interesting insights. All right, so from the Daily Mail, it's asked, will Robert Maxwell's daughter spill the information about Jeffrey, his secrets to the FBI? Rumors are beginning to swirl that Ghislaine Maxwell is ready to cooperate with U.S. authorities. Now, Ghislaine last night was reported to be ready to cooperate with the American authorities in their ongoing investigation into Prince Andrew's late friend, Jeffrey E. The socialite daughter of the disgraced late media tycoon Robert Maxwell has been accused of recruiting underage girls for the financier Epstein, her benefactor and sometime boyfriend. She has even been described as the madam of the house by a former housekeeper at the mansion in Palm Beach, Florida. Hitherto, she was always emphatically denying that misconduct. Well, Virginia Roberts, Epstein's former slave, who confirms she was loaned out to Andrew, alleged in a document that was newly released by a U.S. court that Maxwell took part in the sessions with her as well. Thomas Volshko, an associate professor of sociology at the City University of New York, who is writing a book about the case, said that Miss Maxwell was now target number one for prosecutors, and no doubt, target number one for those looking to make sure she doesn't talk. They are going to want to hold somebody to account, and there is going to be enormous pressure on Maxwell, as she has been accused of being heavily involved with Jeffrey, he said. I would imagine she is petrified. The suggestion that Miss Maxwell, 58, will assist the criminal case presents a further dramatic twist in a story which threatens to do yet more damage to the royal family's public image. It was Prince Andrew's ex-wife, Sarah, who first introduced him to Good Time Ghislaine, as her friends called her. The first report of their friendship was a footnote in a newspaper diary column from early 1999. Prince Andrew keeps interesting company these days, it began. He's just attended a dinner hosted by Ghislaine Maxwell. By April 2000, Ghislaine and Andrew were spotted sharing one of several intimate lunch dates together. They sat hand in hand while dining on lobster salad, and she sipped a champagne cocktail at Nello Restaurant on New York's Madison Avenue. His police bodyguard watched discreetly and fell in step behind Andrew once he had paid the 90-pound bill in cash. Miss Maxwell left separately in order to avoid the paparazzi, but she and the Duke of York were not in a romantic relationship. Indeed, as his newfound confidence confidant and social fixer, she was far, far more important to him than that. Andrew had turned 40 in the first weeks of the millennium and was in the throes of a midlife crisis, according to some royal observers. Divorced, teetotal, and piling on the pounds, he had few interests beyond his daughters watching videos and golf. Now Miss Maxwell was to introduce him to another strange and no doubt more exciting world, that of a wealthy transatlantic demimonde. And at its heart was her mysterious boyfriend, compatron, and father figure, the multimillionaire New York financier Jeffrey E. Private jets, VIP nightclubs, and beach resorts were the necessary accoutrements for the social whirl, and with them came an endless supply of beautiful young women, often very young. Unfortunately, the prince has paid a high price for his brief sortie into this environment. He has become fixed as one of the characters in a celebrity sex scandal which will not go away. And let's be clear, this is crimes against children that we're talking about. And I would hazard a guess and say that the reason this is not going away is because this is not a short-lived twirl with this world. Prince Andrew was deeply, deeply invested. Now, we know that all of those court papers, they just came out the day before Jeffrey was mysteriously found dead in his cell, and Virginia Roberts testified to the fact that she was loaned out to Andrew on several occasions. She also testified that she was loaned out to other people, allegedly, including Alan Dershowitz. However, it did come out that President Trump was never there. President Trump played no part in any of these disgusting, disgusting things. Now, we've got a lot of news to get to, so we're going to skip past the gossip. I think it's very interesting, however, that Ghislaine Maxwell is ready to spill the beans, and I would say that it probably has far more to do with the fact that as long as she doesn't spill the beans and she is just living on the outside world, the people that are looking to silence anyone looking to talk about this are going to have a mark on her back. Ghislaine Maxwell is as good as dead as long as she is out in the public eye. Now next, from Bill Barr, he says we are now learning of serious irregularities that are deeply concerning at the jail where Jeffrey was found dead. We went over several of these yesterday, but there is an actual bit of video footage from Bill Barr here. Now, Attorney General Bill Barr addressed the ongoing investigation into financier Jeffrey Epstein's death at a press conference on Monday morning. He said we are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation, following up by saying that there will be accountability. Let's go ahead and take a look at the clip.
The Manhattan Correctional Center over the weekend regarding Jeffrey Epstein. This sex trafficking case was very important to the Department of Justice and to me personally. It was important to the dedicated prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and to our FBI agents who investigated the case and were preparing it for trial. Most importantly, this case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserve the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry, to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. The FBI and the Office of Inspector General are doing just that. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability. But let me assure you that this case will continue on against anyone who was complicit with Epstein. Any co-conspirators should not rest easy. The victims deserve justice, and they will get it.
Well, those in attendance were a little slow on the uptick to clap for that, so I don't know if that means that there are some of his co-conspirators in the audience, or if they just weren't aware that they were going to be hearing that. Maybe they weren't paying attention as much as they should be. But it's very good news to hear Bill Barr say that any of Jeffrey's co-conspirators are not going to rest easy. They are going to use the full weight of the Justice Department, and I guarantee you that as a result of this death or whatever it is, I think the Justice Department is going to go after any of those people, perhaps even harder than they might have in the past. Now, Jeffrey, as we know, reportedly hung himself early Saturday morning shortly after being taken off of the suicide watch. There's no surveillance video, very convenient, of the apparent suicide, according to many sources familiar with the prison setup. Now, Jeffrey was the most high-profile prisoner in the U.S. system, with connections to the world's elite, yet there were no cameras pointing directly into the prison cell. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Jeffrey was taken off suicide watch just weeks after he reportedly tried to kill himself, and the prison guards who were working overtime broke protocol when they failed to check on him every 30 minutes. He was found dead just one day after records were unsealed implicating top Democrats and world elites, including Prince Andrew, which is why we opened with that. Now, it was reported Monday morning that Jeffrey's cellmate was removed just one day before his death, and many close to Jeffrey fear that he was murdered, and one former MCC inmate even said there is no way that he killed himself. Oh, you guys. Guys, this case is probably the most important case of the century. This is certainly going to change the dynamic and the landscape of the United States for decades to come, and in a good way. There are so many people in power, so many of those in the world elite who are connected to this man and who are complicit in the types of things that he was doing. I just really, really pray, and I keep holding out hope that the DOJ is going to be doing the right thing here, and they are going to put an adequate investigation together and really seriously go after the people that were involved, because you and I know those names, and it's time that the rest of the world learns the truth about who this man really was. And I am looking at the intelligence agencies that were involved with him and his disgusting shenanigans as well. Now, after seeing this report, it's no wonder that Jeffrey was found dead. Apparently, he was considering cooperating in naming names to reduce his sentence. And then, poof, he's gone. 66-year-old financier and convicted PEDO Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his prison cell on Saturday morning. Jeffrey was the highest profile prisoner in the U.S. prison system. Now, this multimillionaire financier was hospitalized in July after he was found unresponsive in what appeared to be a possible suicide attempt. According to reports, Jeffrey told authorities someone tried to kill him in a previous incident weeks earlier. And here's that tweet from Carol Lenning talking about that. Now, after that July incident, he was supposed to have been put on suicide watch, but then on Saturday, he hung himself. But others around him said that he was reportedly in good spirits, and there was no indication he would take his life. And why do you think that is, guys? Because he did not take his own life. And according to reports, the prison guards did not make required checks on him overnight. Buried in the Reuters report was the admission that the guards skipped checks on Jeffrey last night, the most notorious prisoner in the U.S. who was found unconscious less than 3 weeks ago. Now this, both prison warden and chief psychologist had to sign off to confirm Jeffrey was not suicidal, and according to a report on Fox News, Jeffrey was reportedly considering cooperating in naming names that would reduce his sentence. Then he's found dead. Can you believe it? Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip from Fox News.
45 years in jail, which essentially for a 66-year-old man was a death sentence, and that he was reportedly considering cooperating and naming names and others that could have reduced that sentence.
Now, speaking about those co-conspirators, if you guys will remember, back in 2015, Donald J. Trump, candidate Trump, had something to say about this and those co-conspirators. Let's take a listen to this video.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
A lot of problems with that famous island. Even back then, Donald J. Trump knew. Now, if you guys think that these people are going to get off, you've got another thing coming. Donald Trump knows exactly who was involved, he knows exactly what was happening, and he knows just how nefarious these people are and what it is that they're doing. Now, as soon as President Trump came into office, he started going after human trafficking, you guys. President Trump has basically devoted his entire administration to rooting this problem out because this is the swamp. Next, we've got a clip from Mark Levin, and it talks about exactly why that is. All right, next here, in a tweet from Methods, it's actually a retweet from The Dirty Truth, another friend of mine. It talks about the type of earning potential that you can get from being a human trafficker. This is really disturbing. It's an awful thing to have to hear, but this is the truth, and this is why it is such a big problem and why it's such big business in America. This is the way that Jeffrey Epstein made his money. Let's take a listen.
What is the typical outcome?
Death.
Death.
The average lifespan of a child that's trafficked is 7 years.
7 years.
Because with it comes addiction, physical abuse, emotional abuse. Suicide rate is through the ceiling. Because how do you get out? And I hear people say, well, why don't they speak up? You see, with something like the Me Too movement, women come 30 years after they've had a single rape, which is bad enough. Any abuse is unacceptable. But now think about a child that's 12 years old, which is the average in the United States. We lead the world with the youngest average. It's despicable.
The United States, more than any other country on the face of the earth, is
life,
the worst,
liberty, and justice for all, right?
It's the worst perpetrator of sex trafficking of children?
Yes, and we've done such a good job, we've figured out how to commercialize it.
What does that mean?
In this country, on average, a child to a pimp will bring that pimp $200,000 to $250,000 a year tax-free. Now you have a real problem. A real problem. Because now, like I say, the demons come out. Because there's so many takers. So many that are innately in agreement with evil in this country.
You mean there's so many customers for this sort of thing?
Absolutely.
These people can make $250,000 a year from one child. There are so many people here in America and across the globe who are willing to pay to abuse a child. We have commercialized child trafficking here in America, and human trafficking is a huge business all across the globe. Why do you think that President Donald Trump came into office and immediately passed an executive order calling for the forfeiture of assets for people involved with this kind of thing? Because he knew what was going on. He's always known what was going on. He was never a part of this world. He was always living amongst these sick, sick criminals. President Trump is the first president that even tried to do anything about human trafficking. He is the only president that has ever tried to save the children. For anyone out there who doesn't believe that President Trump is saving our children, our country, our entire way of life, then you need to take a serious look in the mirror. Ask yourself, what has he done? And compare it against any other president, any other leader in this world. Anyone. I challenge you. President Trump is the only one who's willing to do anything. Now, also, an article found by my buddy Methods, it looks like Jeffrey's lawyers are starting to lawyer up. What is that about? Let's take a look at this article. Well, it looks like they are reportedly hiring their own attorneys out of fear for a criminal probe of his finances. Two of Jeffrey's longtime attorneys have recently hired their own criminal defense attorneys, as reported by the New York Times. After the death of convicted multimillionaire trafficker Jeffrey Epstein on Saturday in what authorities have labeled an apparent suicide, the U.S. attorney in charge of the investigation into Jeffrey has vowed that the probe will continue, addressing Jeffrey's accusers in a statement posted online by the Justice Department. To those brave young women who have already come forward and to the many others who have yet to do so, let me reiterate that we remain committed to standing for you, and our investigation of the conduct charged in the indictment, which included a conspiracy count, remains ongoing. But that investigation may now focus, according to the New York Times report on Sunday, on Jeffrey's mysterious and opaque money trail. Jeffrey left behind a fortune valued at least $559 million, according to a court document released last month and posted on the document sharing site Document Cloud. Jeffrey kept his cash distributed among dozens of bank accounts, shell companies, and charity funds, the New York Times reported. As such, the now deceased convicted pedo would shift money among his various financial entities frequently. Where was that money going? What was it for? Who was actually sending and receiving it? Now, the highly suspicious nature of Epstein's financial activities has already prompted two of Jeffrey's longtime lawyers, Darren Indyke and Jeffrey Shantz, to hire their own criminal defense attorneys, according to the Times report, which noted that the documents show that the pair were involved in some of his trusts and other entities in New York and in the Virgin Islands. Neither Indyke nor Shantz responded to requests for comment from the Times investigative team. As has been well documented, President Donald J. Trump maintained a lengthy friendship with Epstein. BS. Court records also show that the two shared a bank, Deutsche Bank. Who else has an account at Deutsche Bank? Does that mean that they are connected to Jeffrey? Which granted numerous loans to Epstein, as the Inquisitor reported, and maintained a financial relationship with Epstein until early this year. But officials at the bank are now belatedly trying to ascertain how they ended up doing business with a sex criminal, according to the Times report. Not mentioned in the report, however, is the fact that Jeffrey's 2008 conviction on charges of having sexual relations with an underage girl, as the Miami Herald has extensively documented, could have alerted bank officials to Jeffrey's sex criminal status 11 years ago. Yeah, how weird. A bank was doing business with a criminal. This is just the way that they do it, you guys. Banks don't not want to do business with criminals. They want to do business with anybody who has money that they can move around and that they can make money off of. Unless you're a conservative, and unless you're getting deplatformed by people who are shaming you for being a fan of President Trump and the things that he's doing to save children and stop human trafficking and stop people from illegally crossing the border and securing our border and saving our country, I would not be surprised if Deutsche Bank was a major hub for criminal activity. Watch President Trump have gotten an account there just so that they could look into financials at Deutsche Bank specifically, giving over all kinds of financial documents for people like Jeffrey, the people that he's friends with, maybe his accounts for his charity accounts. We're going to have to see how this one plays out, but I guarantee you that these people are dirty. I guarantee you that his lawyers are going to lead to many more crimes, and that they should be very, very concerned about the Justice Department taking a good hard look at their books. Now, it's come out that Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne has fired a warning shot at the deep state. He said Bill Barr is about to break the biggest scandal in American history. He joined David Asman on Fox Business Network on Monday to discuss the launch of his new cryptocurrency. But first, Byrne was asked about his involvement in the Russia-Trump collusion witch hunt. Byrne was interviewed by the FBI for his involvement with Russian Maria Butina. Byrne fired off a warning shot. He said, "I ended up in the center of the Russian and the Clinton investigations. I have all the answers. I've been sitting on them, waiting for America to get there. Last summer, I figured out what they are all about is about political espionage. It had nothing to do with law enforcement. It was all political espionage. Here's the bottom line. There was a deep state like a submarine working just beneath the waves of the periscope depth, watching our shipping lane, and a nuclear icebreaker called the USS Bill Barr has snuck up on them and is about to ram mid-ship. That's about to happen, and I think we're about to see the biggest political scandal in American history as a result. But it was all political. Everything you think you know about Russia and the Clinton investigations is a lie. It's all a cover-up. It was all political espionage." David Asman responds, "You think Bill Barr is going to get to the bottom of it?" Patrick Byrne says, "I think he has gotten to the bottom of it." Boom. Let's take a listen.
Patrick Byrne, the founder and CEO of Overstock, who's getting into cryptocurrency in a big way through the company. But I have to ask you, Patrick, about a story that I never expected to see, one that Sarah Carter wrote about, a journalist that's familiar to our viewers. It's called A $1 Billion CEO, that would be you, a convicted Russian agent, and the FBI. Now, the convicted Russian agent is a woman named Maria Butina. She's now serving out her sentence after she pleaded guilty in 2018. But what's the story with this, and what does it say about her FBI? That's the kind of interesting thing for me.
Well, first of all, I thought we were talking about blockchain. I'm happy to discuss this. I have gone public in a very limited way to a couple journalists. One thing, I don't work for the FBI.
Gotcha.
I've helped them twice in my life. Once when my friend Brian Williams got murdered, a famous NBA player, and you can Google that, and I helped them there. And I helped them with Wall Street and that big fight with Wall Street 10 years ago. So I don't, Rasta, as Bob Marley sang, Rasta don't work for no CIA. I'm a Grateful Dead, I'm a Grateful Dead loving, flag waving, pot smoking guy. So I'm no, the problem wasn't the FBI. The FBI, I wish, when you walk through an airport and you see some kids going off to in uniform, young soldiers. I wish Americans felt the same way about the FBI, about the men in black, is all I'm going to say.
I do.
They're great young men and women trying to protect the country. They aren't the problem.
I think most people can distinguish between the folks who put their life on the line every day, like the brave FBI agents do, and the folks who got kind of politicized. That's the problem.
It isn't even the brass versus the front line. It's within the brass. There are people who got there politically. They're the problem. So anyway, let me give it to you in a nutshell. In a very strange way, by a weird fluke of history, I ended up in the center of the Russian and the Clinton investigations. I have all the answers. I've been sitting on them, waiting for America to get there. Last summer, I figured out I have all the answers to both of those. What they all are, it's all about political espionage. Had nothing to do with law enforcement. I thought I was helping them in some law enforcement. It was all political espionage. Here's the bottom line. There is a deep state, like a submarine, lurking just beneath the waves at periscope depth, watching our shipping lanes, and a nuclear icebreaker named the USS Bill Barr has snuck up on them and is about to ram them amidships. That's about to happen, and I think we're about to see the biggest scandal in American history.
Wow.
As a result. But it was all political. Everything you think you know about Russia and Clinton investigations is a lie. It's all a cover-up. It was all political espionage.
And you think Bill Barr is going to get to the bottom of it?
I think he has gone to the bottom of it. It was, believe it or not, there was political espionage conducted against Hillary Clinton. And I can tell you, two of the names involved were John Brennan and James Comey. But there was political espionage conducted against Hillary Clinton, against Ted Cruz, Mark Rubio, and Donald Trump. And everything you think you know about the Russian collusion investigation is a lie. Well, it's all going to be exposed.
It's a fascinating story. There's so many weeds. I don't want to get too pulled down into it, but you can read Sarah Carter's piece. You Google Patrick Byrne and Sarah Carter, you'll find it. It's a fascinating story about how you got sort of dragged into the whole thing. But your conclusion is, I think, the most important part, which you just explained to us now.
Wow. Political espionage against Hillary Clinton by Brennan and Comey. This goes deeper than we could possibly imagine. It looks like maybe Clinton was being controlled by Brennan and Comey. Maybe she's not necessarily this big mastermind like we thought. Brennan and Comey were probably hedging their bets and wanted to make sure that if she won, they were going to be taken care of. So I bet they had some nasty, nasty dirt on her. Well, guys, I am extremely excited to hear how this one pans out. And thank you, Patrick Byrne, for commenting. Cannot wait to see what takes place. All right, and finally, guys, Al Sharpton gets heckled in Baltimore. It doesn't get much better than this. "You're a phony. You're a hustler," people in the crowd yelled. Al Sharpton has been in Baltimore defending the record on Democratic Representative Elijah Cummings, but not all of the local residents are happy about it. In fact, Sharpton was heckled by some angry locals this week. We're going to go ahead and just watch it because this is several clips. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Elijah Cummings is a respected and well-regarded member of Congress.
You go back to New York. Take that to New York. You ain't getting up in Baltimore.
Thank you, Mr. Chuck.
I ain't no bitch. Hey, you a phony.
Deal with these questions. And we were told that.
Don't try to get our children no jobs. Our schools are failing us. Where are you when our schools are failing? You're just a hustler out of town and go back where you came from.
Why don't you go back where you came from?
I live here and I was born here, sir.
Why don't you go back where you came from? I live here. All right, let's look at another one. Oh, it looks like that is the exact same clip. Oh, that was courtesy of Fleckus. Thank you very much, Fleckus, for giving us that incredible clip. Looks like everybody is on top of that. What did Al Sharpton expect to happen? Everybody knows he is an FBI snitch, not in a good way. He wasn't trying to help his community. He was trying to save his own skin. He rolled over on all kinds of people in New York. He cannot walk down the street in New York because everybody is going to be giving Al Sharpton exactly what you just saw there. The people of Baltimore deserve better than Elijah Cummings. They deserve better than Al Sharpton. And President Trump is going to clean up that city. What happened to the $16 billion, Elijah? What happened to that $16 billion, Al Sharpton? Al Sharpton says that Elijah Cummings is a respected member of the community. The people of Baltimore are more smart than that. The people of Baltimore are more intelligent than that. You gotta be kidding me. All right, guys, just a couple of quick things to wrap things up. I just want to remind everybody that if you want to get some Red Pill 78 merchandise, you can do so by going to the link in the description below. If you support my sponsors, you are supporting this channel. And also, I had several Patriots send me donations. I just wanted to say thank you very much to everyone who sent me a check. There were just a couple of people, Kathleen and Artemis, you know who you are. Unfortunately, I cannot cash checks that are written out to Red Pill 78, so I am going to tear these up. If anyone wants to send a check personally to my P.O. box, just remember to make it out to cash. That's the only way that I can take it to the bank. So, again, thank you to everyone who sent in donations. I really do appreciate it. Without you guys, I would not be able to continue this channel, as we know that YouTube does not like the content we are putting out. So, as always, everyone, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.